a bureaucrat better be Plato's philosopher king and Machiavelli's prince. How in Bharatiya philosophy, Brahma is transcendental and imminent both. Throughout Indian history that you will see this political philosophy expressing from Vedas to Shivaji Maharaj and also now the modern concept of welfare state. Vedic Rucha also says that the king is king because people have asked him to be the king. That is social contract. A glimpse of Bharatiya political philosophy. Today, my idea is to deal with questions you have sent, and they are like pending for now. This is the third week, so let us get going with the questions you have sent. Anamika says, what would you hold more pride in? Having a student who is inspired to be Plato's philosopher king or Machiavelli's the prince as a bureaucrat? And if your answer is Plato's philosopher king, then could you please explain why not Machiavelli's prince and vice versa? I call it a brilliant question, a very deep thinking question. One cannot ask this question unless one has really understood both Plato's philosopher king on one side and Machiavelli's concept of the prince. Based on the wording of her question, I also think that she has some idea of what might be my answer. So she has asked me to also clarify that answer. Her thinking is in the right direction. Yes, my answer is a bureaucrat better be Plato's philosopher king and Machiavelli's prince. So now even to understand this, I can be very brief. Let me first of all give you a direct and a very precise reason. Machiavelli's prince is ruthless. To say the least, the correct word to use is amoral, if not downright immoral. So the terms we need to understand here are moral, immoral, and amoral. Amoral would mean the normal standards of morality are not applicable for this prince, the king, the ruling class as Machiavelli defines. Because for Machiavelli, pursuit of power is an end in itself. And Plato's philosopher king is actually detached, basically not even interested in power. And because he doesn't want power, he is most likely to use that power for the welfare of the people, not pursuit of one's own ambition, that too ruthless ambition. So now if I may summarize it in one line, for Machiavelli's prince, pursuit of power is an end in itself. That the very role of the prince, so the ruling class, okay, is to come to power. Whatever it takes, come to power. Come to power by hook and crook. And having come to power, stay in power. Stick to power. Retain power at all costs. For Machiavelli, as a political thinker, power is an end in itself. But for Plato's philosopher king, power at best is means to an end. Actually, Plato's philosopher king rhymes better with Chanakya and Arthashastra. And allow me to say that actually Chanakya goes even deeper than Plato. So when Plato defines philosopher king, what Plato says is that the king should be a reluctant king. King is the one who actually doesn't want to be the king. So he's not after pursuit of power. He doesn't have that ambition to come to power and then retain power. Okay. For Plato's philosopher king, power is not an end in itself. So Plato argues that such a king who is basically committed to philosophy, trying to understand life. And then Plato talks of idea with capital I as the creator of the whole universe. And then it is that idea with capital I that assumes different forms. There are some thinkers who have compared Plato's idea with the Bharatiya Vedantic concept of Brahman. Huh? I know they have compared, but I want to say that it's not a compare. Brahma is again deeper than Plato's idea. I will reserve that to be discussed someday. Brahma is the one from which the whole universe emerges. And Brahma is in the universe, and Brahma is also the creator of the universe. In Plato's idea, it is the creator of the world, universe, but once the universe is created, that universe takes its own form. So Brahma is deeper and separate from Plato's idea. I will take this opportunity to also explain two important philosophical terms here. The terms are imminent and transcendental. काही वेळा विशेषतः आपली अजूनही मातृभाषा मराठी आहे तोवर एखादी संकल्पना मराठीमध्ये सांगितली की ती कदाचित डोळ्यासमोर लख्ख होऊ शकेल. इमिनंट याचा अर्थ होतो की या निर्माण केलेल्या विश्वामध्ये सुद्धा ते मूळचं सत्य आहे आणि हे सगळे विविध आकार हे तेच मूळचं सत्य आहे. सो ब्रह्म इज इमिनंट इन द वर्ल्ड. हा इमिनंट शब्दाचा अर्थ होतो. सैद्धांतिक पातळीला ते जे कोणचं मूळचं विश्व निर्माण करणारं तत्व. सो प्लेटो सेज आयडिया. बट प्लेटोज आयडिया इज ट्रान्सेंडेंटल. हा दुसरा शब्द आहे. ट्रान्सेंडेंटलचा अर्थ काय आहे की ते जे काही आयडिया ही संकल्पना आहे ते हे सर्व विश्व निर्माण करतं, पण ते या विश्वात नाही. that principle transcends the universe that is created. त्या सत्याचं जे मूळचं स्वरूप आहे ते ट्रान्सेंडेंटल आहे. मी आज स्वातंत्र्य घेतोय एक महाप्रचंड मूळचा मुद्दा बोलण्याचं. मी तर तुम्हाला एवढं सांगतो की मी आता जो मुद्दा बोलणार आहे पुढच्या काही मिनिटात, तो जर तुम्हाला कळला ना, तुम्ही धरून चला, आजचा दिवसही धन्य झाला आणि एकूण तत्वज्ञान त्यातला पॉलिटिकल फिलॉसॉफी समजण्याची आपली फार मूलभूत वाटचाल सुरू झाली. सी, द वेस्टर्न फिलॉसॉफीज आर नेसेसरीली dualistic, द्वैत. At every stage they create this dvaita, dualistic, and they go to the extent of saying either or. So it is either or. Idea with capital I that Plato talks of is either transcendental or imminent. For the Western philosophical approach, it can't be both. If that idea is immanent, so the universe that came into being, and from that universe everything that emerges and evolves, including political institutions, okay? If the idea is in it, all of them are forms and expressions of that idea with capital I, okay? Then there is no idea apart from all this. Idea does not transcend the universe. While the Christian concept of God that emerges is that God as the creator, but God may not necessarily be in this universe, in everything. For the Vedantic concept of Brahma, it is transcendental and it is immanent also. So Brahma creates the world. Brahma is in this world in every form. Everything is Brahma. All that we see is Brahma. But then when you start developing ever deeper and deeper understanding and start going beyond the appearances, then you finally reach the Brahma as the truth, which is beyond all forms, beyond this universe. So Brahma is transcendental also. The Vedic Sukta says, Sabhumim Vishwato Vrutva Atyatishthad Dashangulam. This is the creation hymn. The English translation is creation hymn, Hymn. This comes in Purusha Sukta. Many a times, some people refer to Purusha Sukta as the origin of Varna system, Chaturvarna. Today I will choose not to go there because that also needs a very deep explanation. Let me even summarize that part, that in fact Purusha Sukta's explanation of how four Varnas were created, in fact, one can interpret that all of them are equal in the Vedic concept. There is no sense of inequality. It is not like Brahmins are heads and Kshatriyas follow them and Vaishyas and finally Shudras are all like downtrodden people. That is not the Vedic concept. That is not there in Purusha Sukta. But I will reserve that to be discussed some other day. Right now I am focusing on the very first Rucha of Purusha Sukta. The whole universe, how is this universe? The energy that creates this universe. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapa that it has thousands of heads and thousands of eyes and thousands of hands. Sabhumim Vishwato Vrutva, that principle. It creates and it is there in the whole universe. Sabhumim Vishwato Vrutva. So from Prithvi to the whole universe, it engulfs everything. But then it goes on to say, I really hope you understand the beauty of it. It goes on to say, Sabhumim Vishwato Vrutva, that principle, Brahma as Vedanta calls it. It creates, it engulfs, it is there in everything. And then it says, Sabhumim Vishwato Vrutva Atyatishthad Dasangulam. That having created the universe, it is still there. Dasangule. तुकारामाचा सुद्धा अभंग आहे आणि त्यातली ओळ आहे विश्वव्यापुनी दशांगुळे उरला. ब्रह्म किंवा ईश्वर या तत्वाचं एक्सप्लेनेशन आहे, नुसतं नाही. माझं म्हणणं आहे रिअलायझेशन आहे. विश्वव्यापुनी दशांगुळे उरला. दॅट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ द वैदिक ऋचा. सभूमी विश्वतो वृत्वा अत्यतिष्ठत दशांगुलम. 10 अंगुळी उरला तो. इट इज समथिंग मोर दॅन दॅट. So for Bharatiya concept, Brahma, the title for ultimate truth, is transcendental and imminent both. खरंच आहे की तत्वज्ञान मांडायला भारतीय भाषा जास्त समृद्ध ठरतात. तुम्हाला मलाच अतिशय आवडलेलं जर एक वाक्य सांगितलं आणि त्यातलं सौंदर्य आणि सत्य तुम्हाला जाणवलं, पुन्हा म्हणेन की आजचा दिवस सार्थकी लागेल. ते वाक्य हिंदीत आहे पण ते येतं इमर्ज होतं संस्कृत वरून. पण छान वाक्य हिंदीमध्ये एक ओळीत कसा तो मुद्दा येतो, महान अर्थ असलेला पहा की ईश्वर म्हणा त्याला तुम्ही, अथवा ते ब्रह्म नावाचं तत्व सारं विश्व मुळातून निर्माण करणारं. तर हिंदीतलं छान वाक्य आहे कि वो बनता भी है और बनाता भी है. कि हे जे विश्व है वो खुद वो विश्व बनता है. दैट ब्रह्म इज द यूनिवर्स. बट देन टू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट दैट यस वो बनता है और बनाता भी है, माने पूरे विश्व को बनाने वाला, the creator. Western philosophies from Plato and Aristotle through Christian philosophy, it says yes, the creator creates the world, but the creator is not in this world. The creator is separate from this world. So the creator is imminent. It is there in this world, but it is not transcendental. Bharatiya philosophy say बनता भी है और बनाता भी है. किंवा अर्थ लक्षात आला असेल तर सभूमी विश्वतो वृत्वा, ते जे काही ब्रह्म अथवा विश्वाचं मूळचं सत्य, त्याला वैदिक दुसरा शब्द ऋत असा पण आहे. ऋत म्हणजे सत्याचा प्युअर फॉर्म, प्युअरेस्ट फॉर्म, दुसरा कुठलाही नाही. अदरवाइज एव्हरी फॉर्म इज सत्य. तुम्ही सत्य आहात, मी सत्य आहे. हा मला स्क्रीनवर दिसणारा रजत सत्य आहे, वेदांगी सत्य आहे, कार्तिक सत्य आहे आणि हा लॅपटॉप सत्य आहे. पण त्या सत्याचा शोध मुळात घेत खोल 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 जेवढे जाऊ आणि एका अंतिम सत्यापर्यंत पोचू, त्याला ब्रह्म किंवा ऋत असा शब्द वापरलाय. ऋषीतलं रूह, ऋत असा शब्द वापरलाय. आणि योग किंवा ध्यानाच्या पद्धतीने तुम्ही त्या मूळच्या सत्यापर्यंत पोचता. सहज जाता जाता मला खरोखर राहवत नाही म्हणून विधान सांगतोय की वैदिक सूत्र आहे, ऋतंभरा तत्र प्रज्ञा असं सूत्र आहे. ऋतंभरा तत्र प्रज्ञा म्हणजे बुद्धीचा प्युअर फॉर्म. बुद्धीचे सुद्धा अनेक फॉर्म आहेत. ओके, इन द वेस्टर्न फिलॉसॉफी इट हॅज ओनली वन वर्ड अँड द वर्ड इज रिझन. बुद्धीला पाश्चात्य विचार किंवा तत्वज्ञानामध्ये हा एकच शब्द येतो, दॅट इज रिझन. भारतीय विचारामध्ये बुद्धीचं पण खूप पातळीला अनालिसिस केलंय, तिला वेगवेगळी नावं दिली आहेत. देर इज व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धी, देर इज निश्चयात्मिका बुद्धी. इतकंच काय, शंकराचार्य जेव्हा त्यांच्या आत्मषटकम या कमालीच्या सुंदर आणि अर्थपूर्ण काव्याची सुरुवातच करतात, त्याची पहिलीच ओळ आहे मनोबुद्धी अहंकार चित्तानी नाहम. म्हणजे मन आणि बुद्धीचे सुद्धा लेयर्स आणि प्रकार 4 सांगितलेत. मन, बुद्धी, अहंकार आणि चित्त हे एकाहून एक डीपर आहेत. Let me allow me to say that Western philosophy and Western psychology has just begun to now approach mind, mana, including psychology. And then it says mind is the 6th sensory organ, ज्ञानेंद्रिय, की आजपर्यंत समजले जातात 5 ही जी नाक, कान, डोळे, जीभ आणि त्वचा. त्यांनी आपण ज्ञान डेटा गोळा करतो, ज्ञानेंद्रिय. तर मॉडर्न सायकोलॉजी अँड मॉडर्न न्यूरोसायन्स has just begun to say that no, mind also is the 6th sensory organ, ज्ञानेंद्रिय. की मन हे सुद्धा ते आपल्याकडे हजारो वर्ष आहे, वेदापासून आहे. भगवद्गीतेच्या 7व्या अध्यायातली ओळ आहे मनःष्ठानी इंद्रियाणी आणि बाकी प्रकृती स्वानी भारत. आत्ता त्याच्यात मी जात पण नाही, इतकं ते सखोल आहे. पण मन हे 6वं इंद्रिय आहे. हे क्लिअर भगवद्गीतेतलं सुद्धा वाक्य आहे आणि ते नुसत्या भगवद्गीतेपासून येत नाही, त्याचं रूट मूळचं वेदात आहे. आणि मन, मग त्याच्याहून सूक्ष्म बुद्धी, त्याहून सूक्ष्म अहम हे तत्व, द सेल्फ अहम. आणि फायनली तुम्ही सत्याच्या शोधात त्याच्या शुद्ध रूपापर्यंत पोहोचता तेव्हा ते चित्त आहे. चित्त म्हणजे एनर्जी सुद्धा. चित्त या शब्दाचा अर्थ आहे एनर्जी. तिथपर्यंत तुम्ही पोहोचता. सत्याच्या त्या अंतिम फॉर्मला भारतीय विचारातलं नाव आहे ब्रह्म किंवा ऋत. I hope I have done enough and I have done it properly for you to help understand how in Bharatiya philosophy Brahma is transcendental and imminent both. We don't see that as either or. Western philosophy sees that as either or. So it is Dvaiti, dichotomy. And there is no रिझॉल्विंग द्वैत. पुन्हा तिथे भारतीय भाषाच वापरावी लागते, कारण फार छान शब्द आणि परफेक्ट वर्णन आहे, परफेक्ट डिस्क्रिप्शन, की सर्व प्रकारच्या द्वैतांचा निरास होणे, निरास. देयर इज नो एक्झॅक्ट इंग्लिश ट्रान्सलेशन ऑफ ऑल दिस. क्लोजेस्ट विल बी रिझॉल्विंग ऑल कॉन्सेप्ट dichotomies to realize that finally they are one. I'm expecting some of you to be also hearing the reverberations, padsad, okay, of Aristotle's philosophy. Okay, so may I now take this opportunity to tell you 3 most basic principles of Aristotelian logic. Aristotelian logic. Okay, the first one is either or. That is about all transcendental and imminent, I said. Or on every step of search for truth, it is either or. May I also hope that you begin to sense how the Western perception of even geopolitics emerges. Okay? That in this war, there are no neutrals. You are either for us or you are against us. And that you are not for us means you are against us. This statement by John Foster Dulles, the Secretary of State for President Eisenhower, and that is at the height of Cold War. So when this statement comes, there are no, that this is war, Cold War, USA versus USSR, capitalism versus communism, liberal democracy versus dictatorship of the proletariat, and finally NATO versus Warsaw Pact. Okay, clear division of the world in two camps. You can either be in this camp or be in that camp. This is war. You can either be for us or against us. If you are not for us, it means you are against us. At the deepest level, it emerges from Aristotelian logic of either or. The Western worldview is simply not capable of understanding non-alignment. Non-alignment emerges from Bharatiya consciousness. That refuses to accept the Aristotelian logic, that refuses to accept the dichotomies, that goes beyond the Dvaita, all kinds of Dvaita, that resolves Dvaita. When we come to the third principle, you are going to still understand the beauty of Bharatiya thinking. But the first principle of Aristotelian logic is either or. Second principle says neither nor. So it denies, it rejects the truth. Neither this is truth nor that is truth. Okay? And the final statement of Aristotelian logic is A is A. Capital A. Huh? A is A. That is not how Indian philosophy sees truth and also the world, therefore the global situation. Okay? In Indian philosophy, A can be B and B can be A. And A and B can only be two different descriptions of the same reality. But no, Aristotelian logic says no, it is either or. If you are saying none of the two, then it means neither nor. This is not truth and this is not truth. And finally, there is only one truth, A is A. If you see how the even Christian philosophy emerges from this, okay, that there is only one God, and that is my God, and you have to accept that God. If you are perceiving God in any other form, it means your God is false. That you are worshipping false God. This is a term from Bible, I am telling you. That you are worshipping the false God. And all those gods need to be like thrown away. And you have to accept that only one God because A is A. But Indian philosophical perspective that even at the deepest level emerges from Rigveda, and the greatest sentence is Ekam Sad Vipraha Bahudha Vadanti. It's straight from Rigveda. Ekam Sad. Indian consciousness has always understood that final truth is one. You call that truth as Brahma, or Plato chose to call it idea, or you may start calling it God, or we may start calling it Ishwar. Bharatiya consciousness and therefore philosophy has understood right since Vedic times that Ekam Sat, that truth is one, okay? But Vipraha Bahudha Vadanti. Vipra are knowledgeable people. Okay? That knowledgeable people call that truth with different names. They are only different names to be worshipped in different forms. But the one truth is all names and forms, but it also transcends all names and forms. So that one truth is imminent and transcendental. This is the time to also remind you of this classic, beautiful story of elephant and 7 blind men. It is straight out of Bharatiya philosophy. That 7 blind men are trying to understand elephant. So one blind man touches the elephant's tail and says elephant is like a rope. Dori sarka hai. And other blind man touches the elephant's legs and says elephant is like a pillar. Yet a third one touches elephant's stomach and says elephant is like a wall, big wall. Okay. Then some other blind person touches elephant's ears and says elephant is like that soup. Soup म्हणजे भारतीय, मराठी हा. पिण्याचं सूप नाही, पाखडणे वस्तू ज्याच्यामध्ये पाखडल्या जातात की तो हत्तीचा कान सुपासारखा आहे. Okay. 7 different descriptions of the reality, Satya. Each one of it is true, but none of it is full truth. If they start fighting amongst themselves, saying, my truth is the only truth, and because your description of truth is different, your God is false, and that entitles me to kill you, to change your religion, to force my religion on you. That is what the whole Western ideological akalan, perception emerges. And it is that Plato and Aristotelian logic that also goes into making of Christianity. But Indian consciousness, which understood right since Vedic times that Ekam Sad, yes, truth is one, but Vipraha Bahudha Vadanti, the knowledgeable people call it with different names. Indian philosophy has always understood that there is no need to fight if someone says elephant is like a rope. Okay, that is your realization. And you may be true. We are ready to respect that. And yet another one says elephant is the pillar. And Indian consciousness still says, yes, this is one more description of the same reality. Indian consciousness also understands that the final reality, Brahma, okay, is all this and something more. Beyond all this. The philosophical term to understand here is synergy. Synergy. Correct description of synergy is sum of the parts. Okay, whole, WHOLE, Purnatva. Purnatva, whole is bigger than sum of the parts. Sum, SUM, SUM. Whole, W capital. Purnatva, whole is bigger than just the sum, SUM, of the parts. वेगवेगळ्या भागांची बेरीज म्हणजे पूर्णत्व नाहीये, पूर्णत्व त्या बेरजेहून मोठं आहे. I hope you get my point. That पूर्णत्व is bigger than the sum of the parts. म्हणजे मला कोणाला कळला की हत्ती दोरी सारखा आहे, आणि दुसरा म्हणला नाही नाही हत्ती खांबासारखा आहे, आणि तिसरा म्हणला नाही हत्ती भिंतीसारखा आहे, आणि हत्ती सुपासारखा आहे. द भारतीय डीप अंडरस्टँडिंग सेज तुम्ही म्हणताय ते प्रत्येक जण खरंय, तरी हत्तीचं हत्तीपण या सगळ्यापेक्षा मोठं आहे. आणि केवळ ते जोडल्याने हत्ती नाही तयार होणार आहे. तुम्ही 7 डिस्क्रिप्शन सांगताय, 7 different descriptions. Okay, so if we add all of them and connect them, are we talking of the totality called the elephant? The synergy principle says no, the elephantness of the elephant is bigger than the sum of the 7 parts of that elephant or 7 descriptions of that elephant. Those who I can see on the screen, their face tells me that they seem to have understood the point, that they have got the point. In fact, that they are enjoying and saying, my God, is Indian philosophy that deep? I wonder whether you think no one ever told this to us and connected with actually the pole science syllabus, man. This is also the right time to therefore remind you of the beautiful shloka that is Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Keep thinking on this shloka. This is complete and that is complete. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. The complete or the wholeness or the perfection emerges from perfection. तरी हा जो पूर्ण हा भारतीय शब्द आहे ना, पूर्ण मूळचा संस्कृत आणि सुदैवाने तो मराठी हिंदी सहित सर्व भारतीय भाषांमध्ये येतो, तर करेक्ट त्याला इंग्लिश ट्रान्सलेशनच नाहीये. होल, WHOLE, sounds very shallow and distant description of Purna, the complete, the perfect. And Purnat Purna Mudachyate, perfection emerges from perfection. A whole emerges from the whole. Actually, closest mathematical description will be the concept of infinity. Infinity. And then Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. You add Purna to Purna, it still remains Purna. You deduct Purna from Purna, it still remains Purna. The Brahma, the final truth. I hope the session turns into a wonderful realization of the depth of Bharatiya thinking. And if this turns into just the beginning of your studies, I can assure you that you will actually be living a worthwhile life. So Plato's idea was compared with Brahma by some thinkers, having carefully studied it. May I say, having carefully also done my own little yoga sadhana. Something where I reach is what Vivekananda says, what Aurobindo says. We need to carefully study that. And thankfully, even pole science syllabus now includes Aurobindo. And in pole science papers, there could be questions on Aurobindo. We will go there someday. Let me try to summarize this very first question that I picked up today. So Plato's idea, I've done enough, I hope now, to tell you that while there are similarities between Plato's idea and the Vedic Bharatiya concept of Brahma, at best you can say there are similarities, but now allow me to argue that Brahma is way deeper than idea. For Plato and Platonic, that is Western thinking, idea is imminent but not transcendental. And then there are thinkers who argue that no, this idea with capital I, one truth, it is transcendental, but it is not immanent. That principle has assumed the form of the universe. So this universe itself is the form of that truth. It would mean that truth, idea, God is immanent. But saying that no, that idea, truth, God is beyond this world, is something more than this world, then it means it transcends the universe. That the idea, Brahma, God, transcends the universe. Western philosophy, okay, sees a necessary dichotomy between transcendental and immanent, either or, neither nor, and only one can be true. If it is transcendental, it cannot be immanent. If it is imminent, it cannot be transcendental. So finally, A is A. I hope today I have done enough for you to also begin to see that Indian philosophy says, does not create such dichotomies, Dvaita. It understands Dvaita, but transcends those Dvaita to understand Advaita, the non-dual consciousness. The Advaita, the non-dual consciousness. And it is out of that Advaita, oneness, one with O capital, the realization of oneness, that final one, call it idea, call it Brahma, call it God, and call it with any name that you like, and worship it in any form that you want to worship. Bharatiya philosophy does not denigrate idol worship. In fact, from Vedas through all Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna promises like more than 50 times in Bhagavad Gita that in any form you worship me. As long as the bhava, your inner dedication is honest, all worship finally reaches me. Any form, in any way, and it is patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam, any which way you worship, as long as your heart is pure, it reaches me. And you can, through any path that you follow. That is also exactly what Swami Vivekananda told the Parliament of Religions. So it is out of the Advaita consciousness that Sahishnuta is born. There is no English word for Sahishnuta, mind you. Tolerance is a way distant description of Sahishnuta. Tolerance only means your opinion is different from my opinion. Your God is different from my God. Actually, your God is false. Someday I want you to convert to my God. Until then, I will tolerate you. It's like pity, I will tolerate you. One can say that liberalism, especially as defined by Voltaire, is a step up above just tolerance. Because liberalism, says what you are saying may be different from what I am saying. So your God may be different from my God. And I'm convinced that my God is true and your God is false, I will still respect your right to call your God as your God and worship in the form that you want to. I will respect that. I respect that. That is liberalism. Best description, best definition of Voltaire's liberalism comes in one statement that Voltaire himself said. The Voltaire statement is that I may not agree with you, my friend, but I will fight for your right to say what you want to say. That I may not agree with you, but you have every right to say what you want to say. And I even stake my life over your right to say what you want to say. That is the best description of liberal and therefore liberalism. Having said it, I hope you begin to see that Bharatiya concept of Sahishnuta, goes way above, way deeper than tolerance or liberalism. Tolerance, I told you that I will only tolerate you. Liberalism, comes and says, I will respect your description of truth and reality. Bharatiya Sahishnuta, emerging from Advaiti consciousness. The Advaiti consciousness that we found thousands of years ago, and that is best put in the Vedic term, Ekam Sad Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti. Sahishnuta means not only that I will tolerate you, or not only that I will stand by your right to say what you want to say. Sahishnuta means I am ready to even accept that your description of truth may be true. It may have element of truth, that it may differ from my description of truth, Satya, the Brahma, but that doesn't mean only I am true and you are false. I'm ready to accept that even in your description, there may be an element of truth, because all we are doing is we are describing that truth as we understand. We are describing that truth as we see. So, okay, if your description is slightly different from my description, we know that all of it finally merges in one and the same. Ekam Sat, Vipraha, knowledgeable people, Bahudha Vadanti, call it with different names. So the depth of Bharatiya consciousness, even the concepts that are born, I hope you understand when I say, I hope you agree, that there is no exact English term for the Bharatiya term Sahishnuta, because the thinking just doesn't exist over there. It is all Aristotelian logic, so it is either or and neither nor, and finally A is A. So my truth is the only truth. But Advaiti consciousness says, yes, A is A, but we also understand that, okay, A can be B and B can be C, and there is no need to fight and take to hatred and violence for propagating only my truth and my God and my prophet and my book that my God gave to my prophet, etc. So the whole Sahishnuta emerges from those Vedic concepts. The question originally was very simple. Between Plato's philosopher king and Machiavelli's prince, who would you prefer? And it was very clear in Anamika's questioning itself that she had an idea that I would prefer Plato's philosopher king. I hope I can now summarize, and I hope you have begun to see the depth of what I have just explained in last like 45 or 50 minutes. That for Machiavelli and his prince, there is no goal, there is no target, there is no objective for power. For Machiavelli and his prince, power itself is the goal. Power itself is the target. So achieving power is an end in itself. And there are no moral considerations in achieving that power. To say the least, therefore the word I used at the start was amoral. Amoral. So it is neither moral nor immoral, it is amoral. Your normal principles of morality are not applicable for pursuit of power because it is a different field. Normal principles of, say, ethics are not applicable to the political field because according to Machiavelli, the political field is beyond ethics, ethical consideration. It is amoral. So to cut and summarize, Machiavelli's prince is only and absolutely to be dedicated to coming to power any which way, ruthlessly, any which way. And then having come to power, to stay to power, be permanent over there, absolutely any which way. That is not what Plato's philosopher king is. Plato's philosopher king is actually not interested in power. And Plato therefore says that because he is not interested in power, and on one side, while he is not interested in power, he is actually interested in philosophy. Philosophy is search for truth. The exact Greek meaning of philo plus sophy is search for truth, or knowledge, you can say. Knowledge itself is the purest form of truth. So Plato's philosopher king is not interested in power, he is interested in philosophy. And then Plato says, because he is not interested in power, he is not likely to use that power for selfish reasons, for tyrannical reasons. Because he is not interested in power, such a philosopher king is most likely to use power for people's welfare. There I take liberty to therefore also explain Chanakya, who sometimes some people compare with Machiavelli. If they do it sincerely, I would need a lot of strength to forgive them, saying that they don't know what they are talking. For Chanakya also, power is not an end in itself. For Chanakya, power is a means to achieve an end. And the end, the goal, the target is people's welfare, mind you. People's welfare. Praja sukhe sukham radnyaha. Praja hite cha hitam. Ani natma priyam radnyaha. This is a sloka from Chanakya's Arthashastra. Praja sukhe sukham radnyaha. That the king's happiness is in people's happiness. If people are happy, only then the king can be happy. Praja sukhe sukham radnyaha. Praja hite cha hitam. The king's welfare or hita, king's help, doing good is in people's hita, doing good, welfare. Huh? And Chanakya goes on to say, Natma priyam radnyaha, that the king has nothing else. Nothing. The king is to be so dedicated to people's welfare that beyond that king has no personal life, no personal dedication. The king doesn't own the kingdom. King doesn't enjoy the kingdom. Another, actually the word is Marathi, but it is also the original Sanskrit term because it comes from Bharatiya Political Philosophy. Beautiful word is that king, that is ruling class, is उपभोग शून्य स्वामी असा शब्द वापरलेला आहे की तो काय आहे, राजा आणि राज्यकर्ता वर्ग. तर वापरलेला शब्द आहे उपभोग शून्य स्वामी, की त्या राज्याचा, त्या संपत्तीचा उपभोग त्यांनी स्वतः नाहीये घ्यायचा. स्वामी, yes, he is owner. He holds all that property called kingdom, okay? But it is not for his consumption. It is for people. And the king's task is to look after people's welfare, and the king has no life other than that, okay? That is not for Machiavelli. For Machiavelli, power is an end in itself. Pursuit of power is the only legitimate goal. Therefore, coming to power any which way, there are no moral considerations. Pursuit of power is ruthless. Pursuit of power is amoral, at least if not downright immoral. And sticking to power, staying to power is the only goal. Okay? Again, not what Chanakya says. In fact, Chanakya says, king is king because people have allowed him to be the king. This is a very profound statement, please remember. So it is not the divine theory of kingship. That also is a dichotomy in Western political thinking. It is divine theory versus what is called as the social contract theory. In Western political thinking, either of the two is true. That either king is God's representative on the earth, and therefore people's job is to unconditionally and unquestionably surrender themselves to the king. That is the divine theory of kingship. Okay. And then what contradicts it is the social contract theory, is that the king, people make him the king. And in Western philosophical, even political philosophy, it is either or. Based on today's description and discussion, now I can safely and happily use these terms. I hope you get them. It is either or. Okay. That's again not how Bharatiya political thinking comes up. So Chanakya says, in fact, Vedic Rucha also says that the king is king because people have asked him to be the king. That is social contract. Okay. But the same Chanakya also says that king is the expression of the divine on this earth, representative of God. Okay. How long? How long? Chanakya is very clear. As long as the king is committed to the people, as long as king is a person of high moral character, as long as king follows the discipline. Remember this, Chanakya Sutras also say that people have every right to bring him down, including people can kill the king if the king becomes debauched, becomes addicted to different addictions. So much so that one term Chanakya used is if the king levies unbearable taxes on people. That detailed thinking, mind you. That the king is king because people have asked him to be the king. Which means the king has authority to be the king only until people allow him to be the king. And yes, that king is divine as long as he is committed to people. The king loses divinity. He is no more God's representative on earth if he becomes debauched and gets addicted to, say, opium or liquor, etc., becomes womanizer, starts misbehaving with people, starts misusing his power, okay? Then Chanakya's political theory says people have every right to bring him down, including kill him. And that is throughout Indian history that you will see this political philosophy expressing from Vedas to Shivaji Maharaj, and also now the modern concept of welfare state. So in the Dharmadhikar's question, I have taken a lot of liberty and I have not restricted myself to only discussing Plato's philosopher king and Machiavelli's prince, while I made it clear that between the two, of course, my choice will be Plato's philosopher king. But in doing so, I've also shown you a glimpse of Bharatiya political philosophy, some defining principles of Bharatiya political philosophy. Although it has taken about an hour, and if I proceed like this, when am I going to complete the questions? But as long as you enjoy, I can consider conducting extra sessions, and you are free to decide whether to attend or not. But this one, I hope everyone, including Anamika, has enjoyed. Okay. So, all the very best for the day. See you next time, and see you for more times as long as you enjoy the sessions. Acha Sarvana.